Hi, everybody. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Welcome to Sit Down, hanging out with Paul Scheer. Black Monday. It's been a great show. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here in the digital studios.
We're excited to have you. We're going to talk some hoops. We're going to talk about your career. I mean, it's perfect time for you.
I love it, yeah.
Black Monday, NBA playoffs are coming. Like, this is your time,
This
Paul.
is it. I mean, this is where the culmination of my entire year comes down to the next couple of weeks. Yeah, the Black Monday is ending. This season, and we don't know what caused the stock market to crash. We don't know who died.
Right.
We're going to figure out those answers, and also leave the show in a cliffhanger that I literally have no idea where season 2 begins because it's so kind of explosive to all the characters in the show.
That's really interesting, and we don't know where the Clipper season is going either.
No, all we know is that they just keep on rising up the ranks. So right now, I think they're in the 5th spot.
Yeah.
They're going home. They just came off of a 10 out of 11 game win streak. Now they've become easy games at home, which is good, but I don't want them to go too high.
Who do you want them to play?
I feel like Portland would be the best first round. I feel like that would be a solid matchup, and they could win. They're a scrappy team full of rascals who can, I think if we can get to a second round in this season, everyone wants to come here. And I know you're in New York, and I used to be New York. I gave up New York for the Clippers, and it was very hard for me to go to my Knicks game, but who wants to play in New York under Dolan?
It's a rough time. It's a rough time.
Terrible. You got Dolan and you got that stadium. So who do you want? You want Zion?
I mean, Zion, KD, and then if
You're
Kyrie
not getting KD. There's no way.
Why not? Come
because
on.
of Dolan, man. No one wants to play for Dolan.
Do you think players really care that much about the owners?
Yeah.
They haven't won. They've won one playoff series.
Yeah,
I get that.
They're, I mean, like, I feel like any player worth their salt does not want to be like he's hanging out in locker rooms, being a real kind of.
And
card.
then you compare that with Steve Ballmer, Jerry Rest,
Yeah.
Lawrence Frank.
Yeah,
it's like,
like
oh,
Ballmer,
we have some money here to spend.
And also, Ballmer loves his team, and you got Jerry West who, whenever I go to my Clippers games, he is sitting underneath the basket watching the whole thing. Like, they're putting together an amazing team, and I think when you look at the Clippers and you go, they traded away some of their best players this season. Like, I mean, first of all, the season started with them trading away their best players. Then they did it again, and they continue to kind of rise to the top. And I feel like what I like about this team is it really feels like a team, but not of marquee players.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that derogatory. I think
no, they don't have the star.
Yeah, they're marquee to me.
Right.
I just feel like, and I feel like people always underestimate them, but I feel like they play harder. I mean, just like the energy of Pat Beverly, like when they beat the Lakers, and he's just like riding the press so hard. And Lou Williams is just, he's the sixth man. It's amazing. Gallinari is awesome. Off the bench, killing it. Like, the only thing I was hoping for was there was talk at one point that DeAndre may come back to the Clippers. And it's like, it would be great to have him back as a center.
That would have been cool.
Montrez is
he's a beast.
He's amazing.
I mean, you had the Lob City years, and those were so great, but some people are saying, like, this is the most likable Clippers team. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I believe that this is one of the best Clippers teams because they're fun to watch.
Yeah,
like, even when they're losing, they're fun. There's no ego, and I do feel like it's an underdog team. A bunch of comedians are behind the Clippers, and I think we all identify to them because everyone counts them out, So they
everybody's going Lakers and this very small contingent of Clippers fans.
Yeah, and it's such a fun energy because you feel like to be a Clippers fan, you're ridiculed, you're mocked. And look, I was a Knicks fan for my entire life, also a team that's often
still my
mocked.
Team, yep.
Right, but it's different. Like, people really the Clippers suck. Like, people don't say that about the Knicks. It's like, the Knicks need this, they need that.
Sure.
But people are like, the Clippers suck.
And you're the little brother in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. But not this
going.
year. I got my shirt. I should have worn it today. This is the best team in Los Angeles. My favorite shirt, my favorite Clippers shirt.
So who are the other comedians in the squad?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think first of all, the #1 comedian who started the trend, you have to give it up to him, Billy Crystal.
He's the OG when it comes to that.
OG, right? Yep. Then you got Jeff Garland from Curb and Goldbergs. Adam Devine, he's got floor seats there. Eric Griffin, also from Workaholics. Me, I'm there. Lord Miller, right? Will Forte, Jason Sudeikis.
It's a whole squad.
You got some good people there. Yeah, my wife, June Diane Rayfield, she's in there. Like,
nice.
We got a good Clippers squad. We also have a bunch of writers who you may not know, but there's a lot of Clipper love out there.
Strong entertainment push for the Clips.
Yes,
All
yes.
Right. I like it. So obviously, hoop's a big part of your story. You also have the acting side of things. So take me back to growing up and how you became interested in being an actor.
I grew up in Long Island. I'm a New York guy, and this profession, acting, never really seemed like attainable to me. Like, I loved watching Saturday Night Live, and Eddie Murphy was like somebody I worshipped growing up. It just never seemed like anything I could actually do, but I would do my high school plays, and that's all. I just kind of would take a class here and there, but nothing serious. And then I got involved in this group called Chicago City Limits, and they were doing like this short form improv, and it was blowing my mind. You know, it's kind of what you see on like, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like, every time a bell rings, we'll change our last word dialogue. I was like, this is amazing. They're making it up, and you don't have to memorize anything. This is for me. And I was taking that classes there because my girlfriend at the time was taking an art class, and I kept on enjoying the classes, and I actually got into their touring company, and I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm like touring around the country with these people. But still, at that rate, it wasn't like a fast line to success. Like Chicago City Limits, like people were excited if they had a commercial agent and went out for a commercial audition like once a month. You know, so like, that was like the apex. Like maybe I'll be in a Chef Boyardee commercial. And then I met up with the UCB, which is the Upright Citizens Brigade. It's Amy Poehler from Saturday Night Live and Parks and Rec. Matt Walsh from Veep, and Matt Besser, Ian Roberts. And all of a sudden, like improv was cool. They were doing improv that no one really saw, and you know, people were in the theater that were famous, and you're like, oh my God, like, and I would go to these shows, and I was seeing at the time, I didn't know it, but like people like Adam McKay and Rachel Dratch and Tina Fey all improvise, and they were kind of this core unit from Chicago, and started taking classes there and learning, and then I got an audition for Saturday Night Live, and I think when I got that audition for Saturday Night Live, I was like, oh, this is something I can actually do. Like I never in my wildest dreams thought like I could audition for Saturday Night Live, and that's kind of when I realized that this could be a profession that you could actually chase, and it's constantly a chase. You know, it's like I got very lucky very early and doing this show called Best Week Ever, which is kind of like I love the '90s on VH1, but it was for every week, and people really loved that show. And then that led to me doing my own sketch show called Human Giant, which was tremendously fun to do on MTV. And then that led to the league, and you kind of just keep on piling together jobs. But I kind of think of this profession like you're a freelancer. You're just kind of finding the next job, and and so you hopefully do good work, and then the next person will hire you to do some more good work, and just kind of slowly build. I mean, it's the most fun job, and I'm not like, oh, woe is me. It's just like there's never any security, there's never any safety. Even when you're on a show, yourself. And it's like when you're on a show, like it doesn't. It's not like we're all on Big Bang Theory. We don't know what's coming back.
You're not getting 10 seasons of it.
No, we don't know. So it's to me, it's really fun, and I think I've surrounded myself with my friends, and I've tried in my profession, you know, from the very beginning to be able to write and direct and produce, because if you don't have to wait for opportunities, you can at least make your opportunities, and then that way you can kind of move ahead.
So how old were you with the SNL audition?
I must have been in my early 20s at that point.
And what do you remember still?
So I remember that it was a big deal. Lorne Michaels was coming to UCB to do a talent showcase, and that was, I mean, unheard of, you know. So we all put up our favorite sketches, and I was the only one that he picked from that showcase, which was absolutely mind-blowing.
That's an accomplishment in and of itself.
It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, honestly. And, you know, I love SNL, and I love Lorne Michaels and the whole history of that show. And I auditioned then, and I did not get it. And then I was called back the next year, and I auditioned again. I did not get it. And then on my birthday, the third year, I was invited to come up to Saturday Night Live on my birthday. Spent my whole birthday waiting to have a meeting with Lorne Michaels. I got to 30 Rock where they taped the show and said, hey, Lorne's running 6 hours behind.
Oh my God.
And I was like, whoa, all right, 6 hours. And like, yeah. And they're like, can you, I said, well, I'll just go home. I live on 50th and 8th. It's so close. Like, no, he wants you to wait in the building. And happily waited.
6 hours.
6 hours.
Oh, 6 hours.
Was waited.
On your birthday.
On my birthday. People were going to my actual birthday party. I was getting texts from people, and I was like,
hey,
I'll be there. Yeah, and met with him. It was an amazing conversation. He just talked to me about the show. He invited me back to see the show. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get Saturday Night Live. This is great. And we obviously know where this is going. And I go back the next night. They bring me in a limo. They buy me like really expensive, like a Johnny Walker Blue.
This is crazy.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this show. And they're like, what did you like? I was like, I like this. What did you not like? I didn't like that. And they're like, oh, great. And then this producer came over to me. He's like, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, oh yeah. And it's at the party. Everyone's having a great time. It's like a big celebration. And he goes, so you didn't get the show?
Oh,
and I was like, what? What did I do with this time? I don't know. And I didn't get the show, and I was devastated. But I decided I would stay there to save face. I didn't want to leave.
So you didn't leave?
I didn't leave. I stayed there, drank my Johnny Walker Blue. I had a good time, and I went home and just like licked my wounds. But Thankfully, I didn't get the show because then I was able to do Human Giant, which is my own show.
Right.
And taught me so much. I mean, you know, to be an SNL is an amazing learning experience, and it's the only stage in the world that's like that. But I think I got the second best thing, which was to kind of create, produce, and star my own show with, you know, Aziz Ansari, Rob Hubel, directed and also written by Jason Molnar, our director. And it was, yeah, that kind of just...
It all worked out.
It all worked out.
I've heard some people not getting SNL, but I don't think I've ever heard somebody going 3 times through and not getting.
Times.
You have to be the only one. With a story like that.
You know, it's interesting. The first time I auditioned, my roommate, because they put you in like the dressing rooms, and they keep you there again for a long time. It was me, Kevin Hart, and Amy Poehler.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the center of the two of them, and it was fun. I mean, now looking back on it, I realized when Kevin Hart hosted, he played a clip of his audition. So my wife was like, that was the guy I was talking to, because you know it was just
right,
the
you
guy.
had no idea. Yeah.
And it was like that. It just like all flooded back in, you know. So it's like it's crazy, you know, crazy good things.
Yeah.
But it's like that experience too. Like you audition for Saturday Night Live on the stage where the host does a monologue, and you know the cameras are rolling, and they make it feel like it's a live show. And I think the idea is like to create an element of pressure, and then you're doing impressions and characters and.
Yeah, invaluable experience, no matter what happens.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just amazing to be in that building.
Definitely. So it's been 10 years since the league started, which is kind of crazy to think about that now. And so, like we were just talking, there was no guarantee that the league was going to be a thing. So when you think 10 years ago to the start of that show, how does that come into your life? And you know, just describe how it changed things.
Yeah, well, it's crazy to think about the league, you know, premiering 10 years ago. It's also the point in which I married my wife. I married my wife within the first couple of weeks of shooting the show.
So that was just a good time in your life?
Yeah, it was a great time. You know, the league was this weird kind of show that I almost didn't do.
Really?
Yeah, because I heard the show was about fantasy football. And I didn't know what it was about, but just fantasy football. I was like, oh, I can't improvise about fantasy football. Like I know football, but I know the Jets. I don't know like I'm not
it's
that
like
much
a next level thing, yeah.
And so they asked me to audition. I was like, no. And then my friend Nick Kroll, who I'm still friends with, Nick called me up. He's like, I think you should audition for this. And I was like, I don't know. And then like the casting director's like, you may want to reconsider it. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll audition it. And they've already now auditioned the entire cast. Everyone's already locked in. And they bring me in by myself to audition. And thank God I took my head out of my ass for a second to audition for that show, because it could have just passed me by with me just choosing not to go to that room. They basically explained to me, like, no, fantasy football is like the connective tissue, but it's not what the scene. You know? And that's kind of the amazing thing about that show. It was on FX, a network at that point. That wasn't anything special. Now it's become this, this kind of amazing, classy network. And we were this, not even an underdog. It was like us and Always Sunny. But who knew about it? My parents didn't even know where to find FX. And we got to work with Jeff and Jackie Schaefer. Jeff, worked on Seinfeld and Curb in the Bruno and Borat movies, and then came over here. And Jackie was developing like some of the biggest comedy movies over with Ivan Reitman. So they both had this amazing way of looking at stuff, and they always put comedy first. And they were so adamant about their vision, their cast. I mean, the reason why the show, I still believe is good, is because Jeff and Jackie were like, we're not letting you vet our cast. We'll show you who we want, but you can't tell us we can't get them. Yeah, and it speaks to this whole process of television, which is kind of gets watered down. Like if you're doing a show, most people don't know this, like the creators have their choices. And then they have to show those choices to the producers, and then the producers have to sign off on it.
So many different layers of it.
And then the network has to sign off on that.
Right.
So so sometimes the person that you want isn't even the person that gets hired, so you're compromising your show immediately. And Jeff and Jackie were so adamant about creating this core, doing this thing, and for those 7 years, they really like brought us through. And the show got to be one of the best experiences in my career because we got to improvise, I got to write for the show, and I have some great friendships from that show. And I think we left at the right time. They asked us to come back. We all, I think after doing 7 years of anything, they're like, let's change it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to be...
You don't want to have one season too many. That's the worst situation in TV.
I want people to be like, why aren't you on the air anymore?
Right.
And, like, oh, we love that show. I don't want to be like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, I'm very happy with the way the show kind of turned out.
Yeah, you should be. And I mean, like, you think about the way that you started with improv and just the opportunity to play with those guys on that show for so many years. Like, that must have just been so cool to just work out different types of things and just to build that character, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the character of Andre, I think, could have been done in different ways. And Jeff and Jackie really were great about, like, letting me help, like, paint the character a little bit, you know, from whether it was like me talking about a podcast I do about magic and Don Henley, which then became like part of the actual show.
Yeah.
You know, they were very much like, it was a very collaborative effort. So like, you know, each one of us, I think, you know, created a character that was different, you know, and I know some of the people they were considering, it's like, oh, that would have been a different show. Like, here's the alt cast. I know different people like they were considering, and it's like they picked the right cast. I think for me, what I loved about that show was it wasn't only just comedians. It was like Mark Duplass coming from this independent film world.
Right.
You know, and Katie at that point too. They're not coming from the comedy background. Me and Nick come from the same background, UCB and stand-up. Steve Ranazizi comes purely from stand-up. You know, John LaJoie was a Canadian soap opera actor
just
who
out of
turned
nowhere.
a YouTube star. So, you know, and so we all were this. We all came at it from very different ways, and I think we respected each other, and we created a shorthand that kind of worked for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. So you did UCB. Matt Walsh starts it. You're on a show with him in Veep.
Yes.
I mean, that comes full circle for you, too.
Oh, well, yeah, Matt Walsh actually in the pilot episode of The League, which is even
is
crazy.
he in that too?
He played the Oracle's dad. For that, and so, yeah, it was just a funny kind of confluence of events. But yeah, so Matt, you know, was a mentor and a friend, you know, at UCB. We would do shows with him. I was in shows, like tech shows for him, like just did the lights and sound.
Nice.
And yeah, then to get to go on Veep, which is one of my favorite shows, just one of the funniest, best shows. Dave Mandel, who created that show, also worked with Jeff on Curb and Seinfeld and Bruno and Boret. They were part of this kind of three-headed monster. It was Berg, Schaefer, Mandel. Jeff went on to create The League. Mandel did Veep, and Berg did Silicon Valley and Barry. So they've all
That's a nice stretch there.
Yeah, they all are doing their own things, but they've come from the best backgrounds. So it was kind of amazing because they worked together as a team. So Mandel had many things that Jeff had, but different things too. You know, it's sort of like meeting a brother, you know, it's like, oh, the sensibility is the same, but the way they execute is way different.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dave taught me so much about the idea, like what I love about Veep is they do this thing like where they make it messy. Like, so it's like they don't want things to feel scripted. They don't want things to feel written, even though the show is so wonderfully and precisely written. They want it to feel natural. And so kind of adding a real naturalistic quality to written material, where The League we were just improvising. You know, we had the outlines and we would do it.
And say, go for it.
Yeah, and we would know what we were going to do, and we'd kind of hone it until it became something that we, you know, was a 2-minute scene. But you know, Dave had like a really beautifully tightly written scene. It's like, now take it all and jumble it up, and so it still feels fresh, and it's still, everything that they wrote is there, but it feels, it feels good.
So you had those two experiences, and then how does Black Monday compare to those two?
You know, so Black Monday is really interesting because it's with this, the creators of that show, David Casp and Jordan Cahan. David Casp, you might know him
Happy
as,
Endings?
Happy Endings, right. So that show, probably one of the most joke-heavy network shows I've ever seen. Like, they just rapid-fire jokes.
And you were on that, right?
I was. I played, like, I think his name was Ravi. I think I was, like, a guy who lived across the street.
I enjoyed that show. It was, like, a weird time in TV.
Yeah.
And, like, there was, like, a lot of weird Miami Heat jokes in that show, too, because of, like, LeBron and ABC. But, like, a very good, great cast, really good show.
An amazing cast. It was Casey Wilson.
And you're working with Casey?
Yeah, she's on Black Monday, and Adam Pally and Damon Wayans Jr. It was, like, it's a great cast. And so, you know, David, I think, comes from this very heavy joke background, and his dad worked in the world of the stock exchange in Chicago. And he partnered up with his lifelong friend, Jordan Cahan, who they've been friends since little kids. Jordan is more of a feature writer who, you know, was on the Blacklist, which is a very, like, you know, very influential list about, like, the best screenwriters. And I think where they work really well together is they love a great joke, but they also really love story. And what I think they've been able to do with this show is combine like a rapid fire joke pace like you'd have on Veep with something that feels a little bit more serialized, like a Better Call Saul, or, you know, like, so you want to tune in every week. I mean, the show starts off, you know, we're going to tell you in 10 episodes who caused the stock market crash, what caused the stock market crash, and who, you know, basically takes a swan dive, or do they take a swan dive? We don't know, off a building. So they're doing a great job, I think, of making you come back to a comedy show. And they're bringing the comedy back to half-hour cable shows. I feel like,
which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you look at these half-hour cable shows, they're dramedies, and it's like they're not dramatic nor are they comedic. What are they? You know. So I think David and Jordan were very adamant that the shows are actually funny.
Right, and Showtime giving you guys the freeway to do that sort of thing. Whether it's your show or Billions, like just Showtime allowing you to open things up and really go for it is cool.
Showtime is doing some really amazing stuff with like Desus and Mero. They're like this voice from Vice and Bodega Boys.
Yeah,
like
they're awesome.
They're amazing, and they're kind of like investing in them for late night. They're doing docs about Rick Rubin and Wu-Tang Clan. Billions, you're right, like it's like a great kind of like fun, pulpy show to watch it. So I think they're like creating this like brand new model of, hey, we're not HBO, we're our own thing.
They don't want to be HBO. They really want to be separate from that. But HBO has dominated for so many years.
Well,
now they're just doing their own thing.
And I think Netflix is so easy to get caught in the mix. So I think they're really trying to stake a claim in, hey, check us out. We're doing some cool stuff. I mean, look, I watched The Affair. I watched, Homeland. I'll even watch The Circus, which is, The Circus is essentially, like what that football doc they do on 40 for 40, is it? No,
30 for 30?
Not 30 for 30. What's that football show that they, it's every week during the season on HBO. Do you know that?
Football Life? Is
it's like they follow one team for like the first couple weeks of the season.
Oh, Hard Knocks?
Hard Knocks,
yeah.
And Showtime has one of my favorite shows where, like, HBO does like Hard Knocks for like a football team every season. They do it for politics every week. They produce a brilliantly well done doc for politics, because politics, everything is going on.
And you certainly need that at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's really fun. It's a great, I think, partner. And I think, then you work with Don, who brings so much gravitas to it. Regina, who is this amazing comedic actress and also has these great drama chops. And then Andrew Rannells, who I think is one of the funniest performers, who's so versatile and kind of, continues to show you what he's capable of. But, when you have the four of us who all have cut our teeth in different ways, just like the league, we are all, thankful to be there, because we're all, I think, under that mentality of being like freelancers. We're like, hey, I'm psyched to have this job.
Right. Let's do it.
So we have a good time with each other.
That's awesome. So season finale is coming up.
Yes.
When people check it out, what do you want them to think?
Look, I hope that people, are excited to see what happens. We've been teasing a lot of stuff throughout the season. And what I love about it is the conclusion of the season is very dramatic, and it's explosive in the sense that they're not trying to make this show again. We're not going to go right back. If we come back for a second season, the stakes are going to be changed. It's going to be a different show. It's going to feel like a different show, and I think that's really exciting. So, what I like about this finale is we get to blow it up. We get to blow it up. Characters, someone will die. That is what that. So I think that's like knowing that there is something that's going to actually really happen, and they're not going to cheat it. It's going to be fun.
That's all the incentive you need to watch right there. That's Paul Scheer, Black Monday, catch it on Showtime. Paul,
thanks you so much.
All right, we'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.